Hello, everyone. I'm Athena Von Hausen, and I'm from the city of White Rock. I'm a planner here. And tonight we are going to be talking about Development Variance Permit application for 14989 Roper Avenue. I'm just going to start off by introducing the application and giving you some basic information about the zoning of the property and what the variance request actually is. So in terms of the purpose of the meeting, this meeting is to inform the public of the intent and details of the proposal. It's to clarify the scope of the proposal and any relief sought by the applicant. It's also to receive feedback and answer any questions you might have. This is a live event and it's presented by Musson Cattell Mackey Partnership. The meeting is being recorded, and after the meeting is done, we will be posting the recording to the city webpage for anyone to view following the meeting. The questions that you ask will not be published until the Q&A section of the event. So just be aware that it might take some time for your question to come up, but we will address them during the question and answer section. Comments or questions that aren't specific to the application or that are disrespectful or repetitive will not be published. If you have any additional questions following the presentation, these can be sent to myself and the emails that are provided at the bottom of the slide. In terms of the next steps for this application, first will be to review the feedback that you provide and work through any potential changes to the proposal. Following this, staff are going to prepare a report and draft a development variance permit and present this to our Land Use and Planning Committee, which is a committee of all of our council members. If the LUPC supports the application and council gives the application consideration and moves it forward, we will schedule a public meeting. At this public meeting, you'll have an opportunity to formally speak to council and provide feedback on the application. Following the outcome of the public meeting, the application will be brought back to council for consideration with the results of the public meeting. So in terms of the project location, the project is actually located between Everall Street and Martin Street. Roper Avenue kind of dead ends there, but it's on Roper Avenue almost at the end of Blackwood Street. So in terms of our zoning bylaw, I'm just going to walk through some of the specific zoning provisions and what relief is actually being sought by the applicant. So in terms of the zoning of this property, it's zoned RM2, medium density multi-unit residential. So this is actually not changing. Nothing is changing to the existing zone of the property. The dwelling units are going to actually increase by 2 units. So we will be going from 48 units to 50 units. And the floor area will actually remain the same because the 1 studio unit and 1 one-bedroom unit will actually be incorporated into the existing floor area. So where the specific variance is being sought is related to the parking requirements. So at the time this building was built, the parking requirements were 1 space per unit, and that means that there were 48 stalls required. They actually provided a total of 55 stalls, or 7 spaces over the specific zoning bylaw requirement. In terms of the zoning bylaw now, they're actually required to have 1.5 spaces per unit, and they would be required to actually provide 75 stalls, and they're proposing to provide 58 stalls. So they would be adding 3 additional stalls, or 1.5 stalls per the 2 units that are proposed. They're actually asking for a variance of a total of 17 spaces. Now I'm going to pass it over to Curtis Brock, and he is going to provide an overview of the specific application.
Thanks, Athena. Thanks, City of White Rock, for having me. My name's Curtis Brock. I'm with Muscatel Mackey Partnership Architects. I'm happy to present the 14989 Roper Avenue project, the addition of 2 basement suites. I believe you can see my screen there of the site.
Curtis, I think you actually just need to share your screen again.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. We're good to go.
Thank you. So this is our site here, 6 buildings. Realstar Development owns and manages the site. It's rental units. We're obviously, per Athena's summary, we're looking to add 2 additional market rental units. We'll just, the agenda for my presentation will be the site context, summary of the proposal, and the rationale. A lot of this will be a repeat of a lot of the information Athena has already shared. As you can see by the star, the site is located in central White Rock and mainly multifamily residential within the vicinity. This is a view from Roper Avenue looking north at the buildings. They're constructed 1970 under that older bylaw with less parking required. Here's a view from Roper looking west. And then a view from Blackwood Lane looking south. There appear to be 2-story, there are 3 stories with the basement and the parkade underneath. This is the topographical and tree survey. It is a good survey showing the extensive green space on the site. The southwest corner has a ravine, so really not developed, it's all green landscape space. This now steps into our proposal and the changes with the 3 additional parking stalls. As mentioned earlier, the site is quite extensive with existing green and landscaping. With the new parking that we're just going to put in some logical, practical locations, we'll add some landscaping and pavers. We've worked hard with the city to find the best 3 locations for these parking stalls. This is the existing site plan that you can now see the underground parking in the 2 groups of buildings that have underground parking, which are the units that we're looking to add these basement suites. These are existing kind of unused storage amenity rooms. These are the proposed units. It's the 1 unit in the northern building is just a small studio unit, and the southern unit is a 1-bedroom. To accommodate this, there's very little effect to the exterior of the building. Building 2 here, really, we're putting in the basement. There's an existing window there. You can see the building is kind of stepping, parquet down low, and then you come up half a flight, and that's into the basement units that really, for the most part, is above grade. And then the other 1-bedroom unit, we propose to add an additional window into that unit. This is sections of the building that give you a better relationship of how the parking and the different levels and floors of the building relate. This showing the studio unit in the 1 building and the parking, and this is a cross section in a different direction of the 1-bedroom unit. This is a key plan showing those section locations. This again is the site plan aerial view showing the 3 parking locations. One of the 3 is actually located on the adjacent site to the north, which is Bayview Gardens, which Realstar owns and manages all these buildings, the Roper site and the Bayview Gardens site, as one management company owning these and renting them. So the actual access through to the one building and these parking already is through this laneway. And we're proposing to put a parallel parking stall there. These are now photos. Again, you have the aerial view with the 3 locations. This is the lane coming from Bayview Gardens coming down into that parking field. So we're just going to put a parking spot, parallel parking spot there. This is another parking near that building as well, which is a very natural location. This will be a significant improvement in this location with some green added around the parking stall and that. And then this is more centrally located within the site, is to add a parking stall in this area. This is a summary, parking summary, which Athena mentioned. The existing site had 55 parking stalls. The original building, when built, required 1 stall per unit, so it needed 48. There were 48 units. We're looking to expand, add the 2 units, which would bring us to 50 units. Under the current bylaws, we would require 1.5 parking stalls, so 75. So we would be deficient by 20. With the addition of the 3 stalls, for the 2 new units, which would meet the 1.5 stalls per unit, we would be requesting the variance of 17 stalls. Just to summarize as well, we looked at the site and we looked at locations for more parking, but with the extensive green space and that, both we in the city felt that it wasn't advantageous to try to remove some of the landscaping for the benefit. The owner has found the existing parking on the site has been ample for over 50 years on the site. So adding these 2 small units and 3 new cars should have minimal to no impact on the parking on site. Benefits: 2 new market rental units, providing 3 stalls, as mentioned earlier, at 1.5 would meet the bylaw for those 2 units and would probably give a more slight benefit to the existing site, as opposed to the 17, to avoid significant impact to the extensive green space and mature planting that beautify the site. The proposed design minimizes the use of new concrete, thus limiting embodied carbons of the project. The proposed maintains the relatively high albedo of this site, extensively planted site. Design maintains absorptive landscape area of the site, which prevents runoff and attenuation effects to stormwater. So, as mentioned, we've worked with the planner and we feel the landscaping and existing condition is much better than trying to find additional parking. Thank you. We're pleased to answer any questions.
Sorry, Athena, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I am not on mute anymore. So we're going to move on to the question and comment section of our presentation. So if you see the little Q&A box highlighted here in yellow on the top right hand of your screen, that will give you the ability to actually type in any questions you might have or comments, and we're here to answer any of those. If you have comments you'd like to send after, my email address is at the bottom there, and we will be taking these comments in until September 4th. We have an online comment form that is available through our city calendar. So you can see the website there, whiterockcity.ca /calendar. So if you would like to submit a formal...
Sorry, Athena, you may want to share your screen just with that Q&A slide.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had shared my screen, but it didn't come up. I think everyone can see the Q&A screen now. Sorry about that. We've had a lot of issues using new technology, so please excuse my non-screen sharing abilities at this moment. But so you can see the White Rock link there to our website. That's where you'll find the online comment form. We're going to be taking comments in until September 4th, like I said. And if you'd like to type in any comments or questions, the comment little box is highlighted there in yellow. And you'll be able to type in any comments there. You can also send them to me by email. My email is located at the bottom of the screen.
So we do have one question I'll publish. It asks, it's an anonymous writer. It asks, are there any existing units to be upgraded? And just make sure you're off mute, Curtis or Athena, if you want to respond.
Yeah. Curtis, are you proposing to renovate any of the existing units? I don't think that that's been the plan, but
no, not currently. I believe they were looking at some, and they might have already proceeded with it in the Bayview Garden portion. And I'm not exactly sure, it is managed as one site, so the south site might actually have access to the Bayview Garden site, and it has quite an extensive rooftop amenity space. And I believe they were upgrading and renovating that. But other than that, no, the suites, the existing suites within these buildings are not proposed to be renovated that I'm aware of.
There's another question that I published. The writer asks, how much would the total be for in lieu of parking for this? And I'm not sure if the writer wants to clarify if the question is about whether or not there would be cash in lieu, or if it's just the amount of the relief that's being sought. And Athena, maybe if you want to speak to the first part, just about the relief that's being sought, and then if the writer wants to clarify if that's not the intention of their question, then we can respond.
Yeah, so they're requesting a variance for 17 spaces. The proposal right now is not, I think if you're speaking about cash in lieu that the city would require for this, that's not being something that's considered with this application currently. So for this proposal, because they're providing 3 spaces, they would not be providing any cash in lieu to the city.
So the next question is, why does the developer feel they can be exempt from existing parking requirements? It's quite a big difference in parking stalls required as opposed to what is required now.
Curtis, do you want to respond to that one? I can.
Well, I mean, we have worked with you to try to add additional parking. I think the feeling is there isn't the value to add that many parking stalls. The site has existed under the original bylaw and has worked for 50 years. So adding 2 small 1 studio and 1 bedroom unit and adding 3 parking stalls is a much better solution than cutting down green space to add more parking.
The next question is there to be any increases in rent over the next few years?
We would have to, I don't know. I'm not with the management company, so I'm here to represent just the development of the 2 units.
I just want to acknowledge we have about 7 attendees participating in the live event. And I'm recognizing that we're not at 6 o'clock yet. What we could do, just being cognizant of the time that we have available, if anyone's joining us late, we could maybe wait another 5 minutes or so for additional questions. And then Curtis, perhaps you could run through your presentation again, just given that we have the time. I want to be respectful to people that might be attending a bit late. So if that's okay, I've got another question here, so we'll keep publishing the questions for the next 5 or 10 minutes, but if the questions sort of slow down, maybe we'll run through the presentation again. So this question asks, is parking included in the unit rent or is it charged extra?
Again, we can take these questions to the owner. I would imagine parking is on top of rent, but again, I don't know how RealStar charges the rent, but I think most rentals would charge additional for the parking stalls.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, in the slide that you can see on the screen here now, there is a comment form online and Athena's managing the application. So if people wish to have these questions that we may not have the answers to tonight answered, then please send either Athena an email direct or complete a comment form and we'll work with the applicant to get answers. The next question is why only 2 units?
Oh, it's just the layout of the building and the space that was available is really just allows for those 2 new units. We had actually looked at the north side of the Bayview Gardens on the penthouse, but from a building code and an accessibility, it was not conceivable to get done. So
I think, like Curtis explained as well, these units are going into the existing building, so there's going to be no change to the exterior of the building. I think beyond adding 1 additional window, but because they're going into storage rooms in these existing buildings, there's not the opportunity to add more than 2 units. So I don't think we have any additional questions at this moment, but we're still here and we'll wait for any additional questions to come in. And we might run through the presentation again. If anyone's missed it, you can let us know in the question and answer box where you're typing your questions if you missed the presentation and you'd like us to go over it. But we'll probably go over the presentation again in maybe about 5 minutes.
Thanks, Athena. Actually, there is a question just asking that. So someone had just shown up a bit later. So maybe what we'll do is it's 5:56 now. So at 6 o'clock, we'll run through the presentation again. There's another question here I'll publish. Just it says, is there a utility aerial service on frontage adjoining the site, and will this be placed underground as required by bylaw? So I think the question is, will we be undergrounding the hydro utility as part of this project?
At this stage, no, but I would think as we move forward with the building permits and work with engineering, we would work that out with the city. I'm just looking at the image there. I see the overhead power lines running up the lane. I think, Athena, I'm not sure if you know better what the city or hydro's requirements are.
Yeah, just let me confirm. Just give me 1 second here.
I think, like you said, Curtis, it's something that we can take back and discuss with engineering as part of the ongoing technical review. Because you're not doing a lot of additional development of the site other than the conversion of the space on the interior, I think it's something we'd want to look at with engineering.
And I don't think the DVP can actually require the undergrounding of overhead wires. I don't think the DVP would require this with this type of proposal because it's not a rezoning of the site. So it's a variance for the required parking, but it's a very nominal building permit application to actually improve the existing buildings.
So Curtis, if you want to queue up your screen, share your screen again, you're welcome to walk through the proposal.
Okay, thanks, Greg. You can see my screen, I assume, Athena?
Yeah, you're good to go, Curtis.
Okay. Hi, everyone, again. Yeah, 14989 Roper Avenue. This is kind of an aerial view. You can see what looks like the 6 buildings. It's 4 buildings. These groups of 2 are the 2 buildings where we're proposing to locate the 2 new units, and they have underground parking as well. Just click through here. As per the earlier discussions, we're looking to add 2 new market rental suites. We'll go through the site context, summary of the proposal and the rationale. Site is located in multifamily residential centrally located within White Rock. Which actually, yeah, right there. This is a view from Roper Avenue looking at the buildings facing north. This would actually be the window of the 1-bedroom suite that's proposed. So a new window would be going in right here. Very little change to the facade of the site. As per some of the earlier discussion, we're really just working within the existing footprint of the building. It's not really an expansion of a lot of units. Here's a view looking down Roper Avenue, looking west of our site. Blackwood Lane looking south. Some of the buildings, this actually right here, building number 2 here, would actually be the studio unit, just located in behind here, south facing with the window on the south side. The topographical and tree survey showing the extensive existing landscaping, very green and lush. This is also why we really don't want to take away from the green space by adding 20 new parking stalls. I think some of the aerial views will actually show that better. Here's the proposed new landscape plan, which shows the 3 new parking stalls. One of the parking stalls being located on the north Bayview Garden site, which again is owned and operated by Realstar, both sites are. And the Roper Avenue site is actually, for this building here, is access down this lane. So we're proposing 2 parking stalls, one at the corner of the building here where we'll improve the landscaping there. And then this is just into a grass, you'll see in a photo soon, that we're just adding some additional landscaping around and pavers to be able to move around the car. And then similar here, we're just changing the path and reworking some of the smaller landscaping to fit in this parking stall. This is the existing site plan showing the existing kind of storage amenity space that the studio and 1-bedroom will be located in. Again, this shows the additional underground parking that's located under these 2 buildings. Again, this is the 1-bedroom here on the southern unit and the studio being located in this unit here. This is 1 parking stall going up here, 1 on the side and 1 here. Again, all the parking throughout the site here is all shared by these 4 buildings. It's an elevation of the building showing the minimal impact of the change to the building. We're really on the 1 building with the studio, we're just, there's no exterior facade changes really. And then on the southern building, the 1-bedroom, we're proposing to add 1 additional window for the living room, and the existing window would be for the bedroom. This is a cross section of the buildings that give you a better perspective on the relationship of the underground parking to the buildings and floors above. The semi-basement where the studio and 1-bedroom would go, and so you come up half a flight to the unit. There's some other additional storage and laundry rooms on this level, and then you come up to grade and there's a stair system that accesses the upper floors of the building. Again, an aerial view showing the green space, the Bayview Gardens to the north and the green space there. This shows the 3 proposed parking locations having minimal impact on the existing landscaping. Here we have, again, the aerial view This is the view looking north back to the Bayview Gardens, which would have the landscaping added and a parallel parking stall put along this lane that accesses the parking field here. Second stall being added on the side of the building, which has a natural recess that's already there. Some additional landscaping and greenery will be added to beautify this parking stall as well. And then this is the third location proposed between the two buildings off the main access into the parkade of the one building that's right here. This is the parking summary that we've discussed. The existing site currently has 55 parking stalls. The existing bylaw at the time of construction was 1 stall per unit, so they would have required 48. There's 48 existing units. We're looking to expand from 48 to 50 units with the 2 new units. We're proposing that we add, per the bylaw, 1.5 parking stalls per unit, so 3 for the 2. Relative to the new bylaw, would be 20 stalls deficient, though when we add the 3, we would end up we would have a 17 stall reduction. The rationale again for the variance would be that the site has existed and the owner and neighbors, I believe, have found that the parking has been sufficient for the building to date, so that increasing 2 units and adding 3 stalls would probably have a slight improvement to the site. Benefits: 2 new market rental units. As mentioned, providing 3 stalls for the 2 would meet the current bylaw for those 2 new units. We would be deficient the 17, but in the process of not trying to add more parking on the site by removing landscaping, as you can see between the buildings and that, it's actually a very nice site, and that especially for a 1970 with the parking underneath, it's actually kept a very extensive green belt within the buildings. The proposed design minimizes the use of new concrete, thus limiting embodied carbon of the project. Proposal maintains relative high albedo of this extensively planted site, as mentioned. Design maintains absorptive landscaped areas, as mentioned earlier, prevent runoff and stormwater. So, thank you very much for letting me present it a second time.
Thanks, Curtis.
Yeah, and I'm definitely open to more questions.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just gonna pull up my screen here, and so in terms of questions and comments, we're open to hearing anything you might have, whether it's a comment or a question. You can also submit an online comment form through whiterockcity.ca/calendar. This will be open until September 4th, so you have a bit of time to complete these forms. If you have any additional questions related to the application, you can send me an email. My email is located there at the bottom of the screen, avonhausen@whiterockcity.ca. So you can see there the little highlighted box. And so that's where you're going to click, and you're going to be directed to a little live event Q&A bar, and you'll be able to type in your questions there.
Okay, so we do have a couple questions here. The question is, does the proponent have to bring electrical and fire up to code?
we went through the building. It's been a while. We went through the building with the building inspector, and I think the fire chief came through with us as well. I would think we would visit what upgrades would need to be done when we apply, hopefully if we're successful with this proposal. When we move forward with the building permit, we would work out those details. But we've gone through it with the fire department and the building officials to just make sure that we can achieve these 2 units.
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. I've just published another question from Adele. She asks, at the south end at Roper and Blackwood Lane, there's a tree that's in an odd place and is not well pruned or cared for. Would you consider removing that tree and putting a parking spot at the end of the row of existing spots?
Can you read that again, Greg? I'm just looking at the site to get a relationship again.
Yeah, sure. At the south end at Roper and Blackwood Lane,
right,
there's a tree that's in an odd place and not well pruned or cared for. Would you consider removing the tree and putting a parking spot at the end of the existing row of spots?
Oh, I see. Right. I'm just looking at the site plan again. It looks like we're fairly close to the property line there. I'm not sure that the engineering department would really want to continue putting parking closer and closer to the actual street access. You often want to keep a bit of a distance between parking and intersections. So I think we can look at those options with the planning and engineering department.
Okay, a couple questions about the code compliance and design of the units themselves. So what sort of interior finishes will the 2 units have?
Sorry, Greg, is that relevant to the application? I mean, we would study that stuff moving forward, but you're looking at drywall and paint and.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say at this point maybe the finishing isn't decided, but it's not applicable necessarily to the development variance permit that's been applied for.
Yeah, we wouldn't design to that level at this stage, right? Because you wouldn't put in that work until you get your development permit approvals, right? That's kind of a building permit stage.
Another question is, are these units equipped with sprinklers, smoke, and CO alarms?
Bear with me a second. I don't think they are. I'm just gonna put my glasses on and read what. So it was a 32253 group C up to 3-story. So no, the building is not sprinklered. Actually, sorry, it's been a while since we really went through this. We did talk with planning and the fire department because you do have a bylaw, but I believe in this situation it wouldn't be required for this site. I don't think the addition that we're doing would meet the mandate of the bylaw to sprinkler the building, and the existing building is not sprinklered.
Okay, thanks, Curtis. Question is, what is the square footage of each new unit, and what's the square footage of the existing apartments?
Sorry, I'm gonna move my stuff around, try to get back to my screen. I can give you the new unit sizes. The one unit, which is a very small micro studio, is 274 square foot, and the 1 bedroom is 613 square foot. I'm going to see if I can. I'm sure there's a variation of suite sizes within the building. I'm going to see if I have a existing set of drawings open that might give me a better reflection. I would feel the rest of the units within the building are probably 1970. The suites are probably a bit larger. I don't have that on hand, so we can answer that question. I don't know if on my home computer I have the existing drawings for the existing suites, but it's something we can definitely answer.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what has been the existing use of the spaces that are being converted?
I'm just gonna, sorry, drop my screen. Just gonna call up the drawing again, see if I can. I think for the most part, I've walked the spaces many times. I think some of it has been storage rooms, and some of it likely was, it really just has been amenity space that hasn't been used.
So we have 5 attendees in the digital room, and please feel free to continue to post questions and we'll respond to them as best we can. And I'll let Curtis and Athena know if we get additional questions.
So yeah, Greg, they were listed as locker rooms and storage rooms. I think sometimes in these, you know, basement spaces, even though this is kind of only half below grade, I think they don't get used as once vision, so.
The next question, Curtis, is would the units have kitchen spaces? And I'm not sure if you want to share your screen. We are getting some questions about the layout. If you wanted to put the actual floor plans up, if you have those handy.
So the studio is proposed to have kind of a galley kitchen, and the 1 bedroom at 613 square feet it's got even a kind of den storage room and a kitchen in the back.
Next question, and we have 4 people attending the meeting at this point. If anyone's joining us late and want to provide a comment in the Q&A asking for an overview, we're happy to sort of give another brief overview, just being mindful of where we are with time. So this question is, would there be any issues with proper ventilation since we're so close to existing parking?
I can't imagine that we would have any ventilation issues with the layout. We're half a flight up, and it's a solid wall between this parking and the units, right? So it looks like